Hi, my name is Will Reed. I'm a resident of Londonderry, and we're here at the Weston Island soccer fields in Weston, Vermont. I'm going to discuss the Green Mountain Challenge soccer tournament, which has been put on by Eric Perry and a local soccer club called Fusion.
Here in Weston, we had 75 teams, ranging in ages from U10s to U18s.
Wow, U18, so some younger kids and some older kids.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've been growing a little bit more in the older ages and shrinking a little bit in the younger ages, but we can, modify that depending on the needs that we see and the demand that comes to us. I estimate about 2,500 people come through here. We had a car counter here last year, and we counted 1,850 cars between Saturday morning and Sunday afternoon, about 5 o'clock. It's a
Over
busy
1,000
spot.
cars.
Yeah, we're pretty limited in certain ways, but it works. And this is our 24th year, so next year will be the 25th, which is pretty exciting. We have some big plans to expand, and again, that Manchester expansion is possibly one of them.
Yep.
With the older age groups, U18s, U20s are possible.
So do the older kids, as the event grows, maybe branch off a little bit? Some of the older kids would play down in Manchester and keep the younger kids up here in Weston?
Yeah, very much so. We can convert the fields so that we have more U12 or U10 fields accessible to us, and rearrange things as they're needed. That's why it's nice to have such a large area with 8 fields here. So
we're fortunate to have this facility. It's basically offered to the local community under a specific lease agreement that allows us to use it for youth soccer.
Yep. Specifically, no other groups use this. It helps keep the conditions of the field so good.
Yeah.
So that they can be used in the spring for Fusion or Southern Vermont Fusion Soccer, and then again in the fall for West River Sports.
Yep. Does Fusion have a mission statement? Or?
We do. It's primarily a developmental club, and we've been growing in the past few years. This year we were at about 230 kids in our program, and again that's from U8s up through U18s, U19s now. We've expanded a little bit in the girls as well. So U8s and U10s are kind of non-competitive. This year in the tournament we didn't do a results-based group for the U10s, which is more about fun. And the experience, which we had one coach, say one negative thing because he couldn't win the tournament.
Right.
But that's not our philosophy, and everybody else got it. In that this is about the development side, and it's not about the results and whether you win or lose. And all of those kids got a shirt with said "Future Champions of the Green Mountain Challenge" on there. Started as a fundraiser for supporting the club, and that's allowed Fusion Soccer to keep our costs down. And that's still the case today. Still the case today. And people ask us how we maintain it at the player costs that we ask of our players. We provide a lot of scholarships, and that's also because of the tournament and the funds that are raised from that. So we don't do any, or haven't in the past done any, outside fundraising at all. And that's been possible because of this tournament. So this is not an easy tournament to put on, to bring in 2,500 people to host 300 games. There must be a pretty immense amount of preparation and volunteerism. We have a successful event that's fairly easy to run, but we do rely on our board members. We ask of our parents and volunteers. We put out a Sign Up Genius and ask them to step up and help our club, because we don't really ask them of much for the rest of the season to help out. We have field marshals, we have parking attendants, general help in the information area, and we've really minimized that and been able to become very efficient with how many volunteers we need and use. So it's become a well-oiled machine over the years. I would like to think so, yeah. Definitely. I came down on Sunday, and it was amazing. Everyone looked to be having a great time, despite the weather, people hanging out. I noticed there were food trucks this year. Is that the first year that there have been food trucks? No, we've been doing that. I think this is the 4th year. Cool. We've really phased out. In the past, there was a vendor from our local lodging, and they provided hot dogs and hamburgers. And when I started becoming more deeply involved with this, I really saw the vision. See the need for variety and some healthy options. So we still have a hot dog and food vendor in Hound Dogs. He does a great job. We also have Simply Asian as a food vendor this year as well, and they provide obviously very healthy options. It's definitely my favorite. Cool. And then lemonade, Amy's coffee truck is here. So we try to provide that kind of vending experience, and from seeing the farmers market down the road and how successful that is,
yeah,
I kind of see us hopefully maybe someday developing more towards that market feeling,
yeah,
and kind of having that community-based event where we're supporting those local businesses as well.
Where do you see it going, Eric?
Yeah, I think Manchester is the key to that, because we're so limited in the facilities here, mainly because of the parking and the road, that Manchester has, I believe and feel that they've expanded and spent the money on their fields down there. They've spent money on Applejack Stadium, which ultimately I'd like to see a night tournament game held there with some of our older ages.
The older, like Champion Cup or whatever.
You know, and all of the different fields in Manchester that we could facilitate. If, you know, many people who travel to other tournaments, there could be 8 to 10 locations, and they're spread out all over a particular town, and that makes it difficult, especially if you have multiple kids in a program at different ages. They're playing on different fields at different times, and that becomes very challenging. And that's one of the most positive comments that we have here. People can't believe that we have all of this going on in one location.
Yeah,
they love it. They come here, they have food, they have all the facilities they need, and they're able to stay here for the day if they choose to do that.
Yeah, and hop between fields in just a couple of minutes, yeah.
Walk instead of driving another town away, if that's the case, to go to another school or something. So I feel like the future is to continue to maintain this and maintain the quality we have here and the experience of that, and then to grow into Manchester and utilize the different lodging that we have, whether it's Okemo as our current partner, or Stratton for the Manchester connection, or the local lodging options in Manchester, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, tapping into those and letting people know what we do and the potential of how many people can come to an event like this.
Absolutely.
It's a very small tournament on the whole tournament scale. You know, there's some tournaments that we've been to that are 200, 300 teams plus.
Yeah.
And it's very busy. It's overwhelming at times. And I think part of what the experience and the positive thing here is that we're not overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's comfortable, and people love the view, and it's in Vermont. And,
it is a great view. I mean, you're literally playing in the mountains here on these bucolic fields with the Magic Mountain ski area in the background.
Yep.
I heard that you mentioned Okemo's a partner, and I spoke with a parent who said they book blocks of rooms at Jackson Gore. They also use Stratton as well.
Yeah, there's one club in particular that prefers Stratton, so they've signed on there. They bring 20 teams sometimes.
Wow.
I think this year they were about that. So they're a whole group of teams as a club, and that's the experience they're looking for. And we've been a destination tournament like that with this consistency of having certain clubs.
Yeah.
And we're looking to provide that, you know, a little more variety with the types of teams and where they're from. We've looked to open ourselves up to the Canadian teams as well. We're looking, and right now we're kind of investigating the idea of maybe partnering with a club up there, so that we go up there and play in their tournament, and then they come down here and play in ours, because it's not the most economically feasible thing to do, traveling with the Canadian team to come here, or for us to go there. So if we can have that partnership with a club like that and provide that international experience, that's some of where the growth, I think, would come from, and letting more teams know about what we're doing here and attracting other clubs.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, I'm sure kids would be excited to travel over the border for a tournament too. A good experience in itself.
Right, because we get teams from Connecticut that will often come here, and they're playing the team that they play next door down there. So we try to avoid that as much as possible, but with, you know, the lack of brackets and the numbers of teams that we have, it's sometimes difficult to change that up. Yeah,
yeah. What about local economy? Do we have any idea of the impacts? I mean, 2,500 people dumped in the middle of small rural south central Vermont must have a good impact on the local economy.
It definitely does. I don't know those numbers, Will, and that would be really interesting to involve the community a little more in how much impact there is. I know that whenever we don't notify local businesses, they always let us know after, hey, you didn't tell me this year, but my response is that we've been the third weekend in June for 24 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you don't know it's coming, I'm sorry.
Put it on your calendar.
It's the third weekend in June again. Here we
2020,
Here
put it on your calendar.
Obviously, the Vermont Country Store benefits from that. I know the local businesses in Londonderry benefit from that.
Restaurants, grocery stores.
Absolutely.
Airbnbs, I'm sure the Airbnbs book up.
Absolutely. So I wish I knew that.
Yeah.
Because that's something that would be very interesting and a measurable thing moving forward for us as well.
And despite not knowing the exact numbers, we know it's good. We know it's great to have an event like this.
Absolutely. And again, I feel like Manchester has been attracted by the idea of what we do here.
Yeah.
And how successful it can be on such a small scale in that way.
Right.
And yet the economic impact to provide those rooms for lodging and the restaurant business and the tourism to that, I think it's a very big thing.
Have you thought about a second tournament, a different time of year, or anything like that?
It's been considered. Again, it's a very competitive tournament schedule,
right?
Where there's very few weekends that just is not something else that's already successful going on.
Vying for real estate on the calendar.
And that's where I'm personally looking for this weekend to expand for the Green Mountain Challenge, because there's other tournaments that do a boys event in one weekend and a girls event next weekend. That would put a strain on our board and our volunteers.
Yeah.
And that is something, again, I don't want to push beyond the comfort level where we work.
Right.
And how effective it is. So the idea has definitely been out there for years and expanding that, but that creates, we're generally a volunteer board.
Yeah.
We have a few paid positions administrative-wise, but we're all volunteers.
Yeah.
And, I personally did 36 hours in 3 days this past weekend. So I maintain the fields here. That's, paid position, as you know. So I really feel like the quality of our fields as well is a really important factor, because there's other places where clubs have tournaments and the fields are really worn down because they're so heavily used.
Yeah.
And because of the lack of other uses on this field, we can provide a really high quality product.
Yeah, and the grass looks great this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great facility, and it's kind of a gem. When we travel around, there's really very few places that have this many fields in one location, and the quality of fields in one place as well. So, I'm definitely proud of what's here, and thanks to West River and Fusion both for maintaining and putting the investment into this.
Yeah, and I think we owe a bit of gratitude to many local businesses who help support and make sure that the fields are maintained, and also the co-op of ownership that allow the usage of the field.
I mean, that wouldn't happen without that.
Right.
And this spring we had a minor flood, I'll say minor, but washed out the driveway on the corner, and the sand was through the goal over here. And we had a lot of local businesses step up. I mean, too many to mention here, but providing labor, some equipment, and
immediately too, right? I mean, they got on it and they made sure this field was going to be ready for a tournament only a few weeks later, right?
Yeah, I mean, from the looks of it, the water flowed across the entire set of fields, and that's when I pulled in. I was kind of like, about in tears because of just realizing how much work it's going to take to bring it back. But a few phone calls and a few social media posts and the community members really stepped up and got out here pretty quickly. So we were able to get it back together and put on a good event.
That's awesome. It's humbling to see that people and their businesses will pitch in and make sure things are fixed in an unbelievably timely fashion. So
yeah, you would have never known.
Right.
I
want to thank Eric Perry and his affiliation with Fusion for hosting this great soccer tournament event in the third week of June, and for taking the time to talk to us here today about that event and the goal and the mission of Fusion Soccer and the idea of this tournament and its potential for the future.
Great, thank you very much.